Chapter 66, Undead Legion. When its life dropped to 10%, it would go into a red blood state. In this state, the boss would turn enraged. This was a fixed rule in Glory. Under the watch of all these Glory veterans, how could they ignore a party that had fought the Blood Gunner to 10% health? But the Blood Gunner wasn't at red blood, yet it now entered an enraged state. As veterans, they clearly understood what the Blood Gunner's enraged state meant. If they were the ones fighting, then they would have definitely prepared before it went enraged. But who would have thought that the Blood Gunner would suddenly turn enraged at this moment? Red blood isn't the only way for it to turn enraged, Bound Boat suddenly said. Blue River's complexion had already changed. Indeed, on some bosses, besides the red blood state, there were a few other ways that could lead to the boss turning enraged. Enraged, to put it simply, was the boss's way to save itself when it was in critical danger. For high-end wild bosses like the Blood Gunner, red blood wasn't the only time when they felt they were in danger. Other conditions could make them feel that they needed to turn enraged to resolve the crisis. 200 combo? Blue River blurted out. Noticing it now was already too late. By the time the Blood Gunner began shouting and glowing, it was already too late. Everyone felt the ground underneath loosen. Earth had already began opening up. The crooked tombstones and the remnant coffins looked as if they had awakened and began shaking. The Blood Gunner's enrage summoned his Undead Legion. The number of creatures summoned was proportional to the number of players in his aggro range. At this moment, it was quite a tragedy. The three great guild leaders were all in the Blood Gunner's aggro range. They had just been trying to invite Lord Grim into their group. The three of them didn't represent a single person. They were the group's leader, so each of them represented the entirety of their respective guilds on the field. Normally, when they fought the Blood Gunner before it went into red blood, the leader would definitely be the first to leave the Blood Gunner's aggro range. In all of these years, relying on this setup, the three great guilds didn't know how many times they had fought against this monster. They were all too familiar with the Blood Gunner's summoning. Ha 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 ha. The Blood Gunner's call continued. A large mob of zombies and skeletons had already climbed up out from the earth, tombstones, and coffins. There were over 100. Stay in formation. Protect the healers and mages. The three great guilds' instructions were all practically the same. The newly summoned Undead Legion didn't have the same aggro as the Blood Gunner. Their aggro was reset and attacked as soon as they saw a player. They would attack whoever was close to them. In an instant, a great battle unfolded in the boneyard. The zombies and skeletons summoned by the Blood Gunner weren't more ferocious than the normal boneyard monsters. But the problem was that their levels were high. They were all the same level as the Blood Gunner, level 26, the highest level in the boneyard. They level suppressed every single player in the field, making them difficult to deal with. And adding on to their sudden appearance and random distribution, everyone was caught off guard. In the first moments, there were players that were surrounded and instantly killed. The three guild leaders' expressions were all ugly. They knew that this 200 combo was something Lord Grim had deliberately done. This combo counter didn't count how many times the Blood Gunner attacked. It counted how many times it was attacked. But under the concentrated fire from being attacked on all sides, it was very easy for the combo to go over 200. As a result, this prevented players from bullying it too excessively. Normally, they would definitely pay attention to the combo. Breaking the combo was much easier than continuing the combo. But Lord Grim commanded a party to hit out 200 combos. Moreover, he did it when the three great guilds were all inside the aggro range. He had clearly done it to make the boss turn enraged and restrict the three great guilds. His purpose was obviously still the Blood Gunner. But what about the Blood Gunner now? The Blood Gunner's aggro wouldn't change because it turned enraged. Its aggro was still on Lord Grim. After turning enraged, it immediately shot violently and hit Lord Grim into a cloud of white smoke. The players of the three guilds saw this, but weren't happy. The one that was hit was only Lord Grim's shadow clone. Where was Lord Grim's real body? After the shadow clone disappeared, another gunner's aerial fire shot out and he flew backwards, slipping out a good number of bullets. The Blood Gunner swiftly chased him. The three great guilds players were being tangled by the Undead Legion and had no time to watch. They could only concentrate on stopping the undead's advance. The noob brawler and the others were all stupefied. They had happily ran back, ready to join the group and reap the rewards. But who knew such an event would unexpectedly occur? The three could only helplessly watch as their other two members were instantly ripped apart into chunks of meat by the Undead Legion. The three immediately halted their footsteps. They finally understood what the danger Lord Grim warned about was. Soon after, they saw Lord Grim fly out. Behind him followed the astonishingly fast Blood Gunner. The three didn't know what to do. They didn't know whether Lord Grim was fleeing or doing something else until they saw Lord Grim's command, "Go." "Go where?" the three players asked. "Come over and kill the boss," Yishu said. At a loss, the three players turned around and ran. "Over here," Yishu gave the three players further directions. The three great guilds all saw this clearly. They had no manpower to spare and could only stamp their feet in rage. "That guy's bringing away the Blood Gunner," everyone was shouting. Blue River almost died from anger and sent a message to Lord Grim, "Brother, you're not nice." At this moment, Lord Grim was only running. He would occasionally stop to throw down the chasing Blood Gunner. He had time to respond to Blue River. "What's wrong?" Yishu replied. "What do you mean what's wrong?" Blue River saw this message and grew even angrier. Right when he was about to send another message, he suddenly discovered that he had nothing to say. "Right, what's wrong? What did that guy do wrong?" "That guy planned to steal away the Blood Gunner." But saying that wasn't nice. There was no such word in Glory. Wild bosses had always been there to be stolen. But normally, it had always been stolen by the three great guilds. If someone else apart from the three great guilds stole it, then why should that suddenly be not nice? Blue River was unable to speak. Apart from him, Endless Night also sent a message. "You're very fierce." "Haha," Yishu replied. "But don't be too pleased with yourself yet. With those few people, do you really think you'll be able to beat the Blood Gunner before we kill off all these trash? Do you really think we won't be able to find you?" Endless Night replied. "Then you guys better hurry up." Yishu laughed and inhaled a breath of smoke. "Where are we running to?" the noob brawler next to Lord Grim asked. Yishu hadn't yet replied when another player shouted, "Uh-oh. There are people heading towards us." "Don't panic. Give the party leader position to me," Yishu said. The noob brawler, without thinking, gave the party leader position to Lord Grim. System message: Player 7 Fields has joined your party. Player Drifting Water has joined your party. Player Sunset Clouds has joined your party. Player Sleeping Moon has joined your party. Player Immersed Jade has joined your party. "Kill!" Yishu shouted loudly. The noob brawler and the others all watched, dumbstruck, as a group of people rushed forward. Some called him God, some Brother Expert, and others didn't say a word. They all headed towards the Blood Gunner to attack. Chapter 67, Speed Up. "Brother Expert, you're too loyal," 7 Fields and the others rushed up excitedly. "You guys are pretty brave too," Yishu laughed. He had already told them what the situation was. This was like trying to pull a tooth from a tiger's mouth. He also wasn't sure if the three great guilds would just let this matter go. But in the end, these guys didn't care and hurried over. Even the little girl Immersed Jade came. Though it was possible that the noob girl didn't understand the situation and just came to join in on the action. "What's there to be afraid of?" Sleeping Moon yelled while chopping down quite energetically. He hadn't played yesterday, so his level was a bit lagging behind. But after bitterly training for a day, he reached level 21. "These are all the people you've called?" The noob brawler and the others stood there foolishly on the side. "Yup," Yishu said. "When?" the noob brawler asked. "When I went up and joined your party," Yishu said. "You had already planned it all out at that time?" The three were all appalled. What an incredible mind. Yishu laughed but didn't say anything else. He began instructing each person on their position and skill timing. He even went as far as telling them when to drink their potions. Potions had a cooldown. What was the best way to drink potions to keep up your endurance during battle? That itself was a type of knowledge. Now, it looked as if 9 people were fighting the monster together. In reality, those 8 other players were all puppets. They completely acted according to Yishu's instructions. They were a bit messy in the beginning. After all, Yishu only had one mouth and couldn't give 8 people 8 commands at once. But after fighting for a bit, 7 fields and the others, who weren't considered experts, were still veterans and already had a basic understanding of what to do. The new brawler level players also did decently. Yishu carefully observed each player's damage output. He calculated that they wouldn't be able to kill off the Blood Gunner before the 3 great guilds finished dealing with the Undead Legion. He quickly came to a conclusion: foolishly fighting here wouldn't work. As a result, he began adjusting his tactic and distanced himself. The Blood Gunner was like a sheep. It was being cut down on one side and driven away on another. The more it moved, the more the blood flowed down. It was extremely miserable. At this very moment, Yishu obviously wouldn't do another 200 combo and ask for more trouble. But there was no way to avoid its enrage when it reached 10% life. Of course, to Yishu, that wasn't a problem at all. The Blood Gunner's life quickly plummeted. Yishu estimated the time for both sides. The 3 great guilds should almost be done, but the Blood Gunner's life was still at 20%. Even though they pulled a bit of distance while fighting it, the time was still extremely tight. Yishu turned his camera angle and looked towards the direction that they had come from. Boneyard didn't have much shelter. Looking into the distance, many players had already begun moving in their direction. Sure enough, the 3 great guilds had already finished their work. And on their side, the damage output had already been stretched to the limit by Yishu's leading unless higher-leveled equipment was given to them. But clearly, that wasn't possible. Or maybe. Brother expert, they've all come over, 7 Fields suddenly said. Evidently, he had also noticed that they didn't have enough time. Okay, let's speed things up, Yishu said. Having already reached this stage, there was no other choice but to fight. How? The 8 players asked. Increase your hand speed. Everyone concentrate, Yishu said. At this moment, the only method was to increase their hand speed. Yishu himself obviously wasn't a problem. In order to match everyone, he had deliberately controlled his hand speed to such a slow speed. But now, in this limited time to kill off the Blood Gunner, the entire party's tempo had to quicken. There were quite a few noobs in this party, which made things much more difficult. But at present, there was no other way. Hand speed wouldn't increase the character's attack speed. The character's attack speed was determined by class and equipment. It was a fixed number. But hand speed could increase their mechanical speed. The faster the mechanical speed, the faster skills could be put out. The character's sidesteps, rolls, attacks, skills, etc. each move would be linked together faster. At this moment, Yishu wanted the entire party to increase their mechanical hand speed. This was effective hand speed. Let's say 2 points were on the screen, A and B. The requirement was for the cursor to move from A to B. Pro players, using the quickest hand speed the entire time, could move the cursor from A to B and accurately stop on B. But normal players, in order to accurately stop on point B, they could only lower their hand speed, decreasing their cursor's movement speed. If they forced themselves to increase their speed, then they might miss point B or even go over. In short, they couldn't get the most optimal result. But at this moment, Yishu was too busy to worry about it. Fortunately, they didn't need to increase too much. There was no way everyone could suddenly reach a professional level hand speed. Yishu assessed the situation. Increasing their current tempo by 20% should be enough. According to his observations, in their current tempo, there were a few people who still had energy to spare. For example, it shouldn't be a problem for 7 Fields and Sleeping Moon to increase their tempo by 20%. Sunset clouds and drifting water were in the norms. After suddenly increasing the tempo, whether they could keep it up or not depended on their concentration. As for the 4 noobs, Yishu had no hopes at all for Immersed Jade. This girl was already having trouble, repeatedly making mistakes. The noob brawler made Yishu a little surprised. Although he was the stupidest of them all, his hand speed wasn't bad. When he instructed him, he carried them out precisely without any deviations. The other two were better than Immerse Jade, but not as good as the new brawler. Fight! I'm speeding up, Yi Shu yelled. His hands quickened. With this increase, the others all matched him and increased too. Just as he expected, Seven Fields and Sleeping Moon kept pace easily, and it wasn't too much of a problem for Sunset Clouds either. But Drifting Water reacted slower and was slow by half a beat. Immersed Jade was already in an "oh no" state. But the new brawler made Yi Shu pleasantly surprised. His attacks were as accurate as Seven Fields and Sleeping Moon's. Finally, those other two were in a complete mess. Their attacks became non-existent. Don't panic. Concentrate. Yi Shu looked around. Besides Immersed Jade, who was completely hopeless, Drifting Water and the other two still had the possibility of keeping up. No good. Immersed Jade's hands were a mess. Her attacks were all hitting air. Immersed Jade, play on your own pace. Just use your skills whenever they're off cooldown and that'll be fine. Immersed Jade wasn't good enough. She had also picked the Assassin class, which required a higher operating speed. Slow assassins, PK's most beloved. In Glory, this famous phrase said that assassins without hand speed were complete tragedies. They could be bullied around easily in PK. Immersed Jade was one such tragedy. Yi Shu immediately gave up on her. The remaining 7 players made Yi Shu feel extremely gratified. Drifting Water's speed also caught up, and the other two weren't as messy as they were when they first started. Although they made a few mistakes, Yi Shu was still able to rescue them. They only increased their hand speed by 20%, but Yi Shu burst forth with a 200% increase. If Chen Guo was behind Yi Shu, she would definitely eat back her 3 words, disabled level hands. Fast, 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 Seven Fields yelled while repeatedly reciting this catchphrase. His yelling while increasing his hand speed helped motivate the others too. However, this time, his increases were extremely small, so everyone unconsciously kept pace too. Only Yi Shu could detect this sort of small chance. But this really was an unexpected surprise, and he became even more certain of the outcome. It's almost at red blood, Seven Fields suddenly shouted. Chapter 68, Blood Gunner First Kill. Yi Shu also moved extremely quickly and transferred the party leader position to Seven Fields. Everyone retreat. Seven Fields and the other veterans had never killed the Blood Gunner before, but they heard the Blood Gunner story. They knew what happened once the boss became enraged, so they immediately retreated. Yi Shu understood this better than Seven Fields. He didn't need any reminders. Under Seven Fields' lead, the 8 players left the Blood Gunner's aggro range. Yi Shu's hand speed burst forth. Lord Grimm's battle lance executed several skills, blurring their eyes. The Blood Gunner's life instantly dropped to 10% red blood. Ha 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 ha. The Blood Gunner began summoning and emanating a layer of blood-red light. But the players had prepared for this. There was only one person in its aggro range, and he wasn't the party leader. The boss's actions were completely grasped, so it was inevitably bullied around ruthlessly by these players. Yi Shu now had to control the Blood Gunner and make sure that it didn't run into the rest of the party while it was in this state. To Yi Shu, this sort of task was as easy as eating food. After the Blood Gunner's summoning ended, a single skeleton appeared next to it, looking weak and lonely. Seven Fields and the others didn't move. They had also seen the Blood Gunner guide. Although they had all participated in killing this sort of wild boss with their guild, they had never experienced this sort of summoning. After the Blood Gunner finished summoning, could they enter battle and fight? They weren't sure. Kill. Until they heard Lord Grimm's commands. The 8 madly ran back to kill. The lone guard summoned by the Blood Gunner was instantly shattered into pieces. Who made it come here so lonely? The besieging continued. Doesn't the Blood Gunner summon again? Seven Fields asked. Yup. At 5% life, it'll summon once more. And before its death, it'll fire randomly, Yi Shu said. What a shameless boss. Level 26 and it'll fire randomly, Seven Fields said. Just concentrate on dodging and you'll be fine. The final random firing has a high chance to crit. If a few hit, you will definitely die, Yishu said. How do we dodge the random firing? Sleeping Moon raised a question. For you, run a bit further away, Yishu replied. F***CK. Clearly, this situation was looking good. Highly skilled players could see that they could dispatch the blood gunner promptly. As a result, they all talked relaxedly. When the life hit 5%, the 8 players once again left the aggro range. The blood gunner summoned a lone zombie, which was instantly smashed into mincemeat by them. The 3 Great Guilds players, with their fangs bared and claws brandished, creeped closer and closer. Yishu received another message from Endless Night, who was still proudly saying, "Ha ha ha. Still fighting? You must have worked hard. It'd be better if you joined our guild's group right now." Yishu ignored him. At such a critical time, he had to concentrate on killing off the boss. This fact was everything. The 3 Great Guilds players approached. But the blood gunner's life still wasn't low enough. 7 Fields and the others were a little worried. It looks like they're out of time? After all, they weren't as confident in their decision-making as Yishu was. Cheng 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 cheng. It seemed as if they could already heard the sounds of the 3 Great Guilds gunners taking out their bullets and loading them. Scatter, Yishu suddenly shouted. 7 Fields and the others ran from the scene without looking back. Seeing this scene, the 3 Great Guilds players subconsciously halted their footsteps. F***CK, again, some shouted. How could he be so timely? Some didn't believe it. Troops, with me, Blue River said without fooling around. He transferred his group leader position to another party leader and brought the 10 most elite players forward. Tyrannical Ambition and Herb Garden also made the same decision. They all formed a 10-player party. This way, even if the blood gunner turned enraged again, it could only summon 30 monsters. They left some backup that could eliminate the Undead Legion while killing the blood gunner. The 3 teams all rushed forward madly. They were competing against each other to see who advanced the fastest. In this instant, they once again regarded the other players fighting the blood gunner as non-existent. This was a type of habit. Each group take out 3 players to kill off those guys, Blue River yelled. They could no longer let that party exist. Even if they didn't kill them, they had to at least force them away, so the blood gunner could go into an off-combat state. Only then would the damage onto the boss be cleared. As for Lord Grimm, Blue River felt quite regretful. If they didn't cooperate, then this situation wasn't going to be easy to deal with. Blue River felt somewhat hesitant. Tyrannical Ambition's guild leader had already agreed and sent out 3 players from their party. Blue River looked at Herb Garden's side. The players were sent out, but he didn't see Plantago's seed. Where's Plantago's seed? Blue River asked. An Herb Garden player said, extremely embarrassed, dead. Dead? Blue River was surprised. He followed with a loud laugh and laughed until his stomach hurt. When the Undead Legion was instantly summoned, the situation had turned into chaos. Anyone dying wasn't anything strange. But Plantago's seed's skill wasn't low. His equipment was unlikely to be bad and he at least should have been able to survive longer than most. But in the end, he still died. He could just imagine how helpless and lonely he was in that situation. Blue River's loud laugh made Herb Garden's players all extremely depressed, but what made them even more depressed came later. What are you laughing at? Tyrannical Ambition's Cold Night asked. Plantago's seed died, Blue River said. Really? Congratulations, Cold Night didn't bat an eyelid. Same to you. Same to you, Blue River said. Herb Garden's players all coughed blood. At this moment, the players that were closing in on the blood gunner heard Yishu yell, "Be careful everyone." Having heard the news of Plantago Seed's death, Blue River's mood was quite good and he laughed delightedly. Don't worry, brother. We can handle it. Then that's good, Yishu laughed. Not good, Thousand Creations suddenly yelled. This guy, who liked to kill Steel, had a natural feeling for a monster's life. At this moment, even though he hadn't yet completely closed in on it, he had an ominous premonition. What's wrong? Blue River asked. Ya 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 ya. The blood gunner once again began yelling and emanating a blood-red glow. In addition, this time, it held a pose. Horse stance. Its two hands crossed over its chest. His left hand supported the gun in his right hand. F***CK random firing. The experts all collapsed. Random firing was unleashed. The blood gunner never stopped shouting. The gun in its right hand changed into a blur of destruction. Countless bullets flew out in all directions at practically the same time. Although, in theory, the gun in its hands were a revolver, its chain firing was even faster than a machine gun. It also didn't need to load. This was a skill. The players of the Three Great Guild that rushed up all covered their heads and fled like rats. 3 players died on the spot. They were too close. With such a high firing speed, they had no time to dodge. Squatting, lying down, twisting into an S shape, regardless of their form, everyone was just trying to survive. But the person who bore the brunt of the impact was Lord Grimm. However, when everyone looked, all they saw was a cloud of light smoke. It was the shadow clone technique again. But this time, the real body didn't appear in any spot within 360 degrees around the boss. He appeared overhead in the sky. Lord Grimm dropped down and used the fighter skill Eagle Stamp, stepping on the blood gunner's head. 1 foot, 2 foot. The battle lance soared out. A mid-air circle swing. Although the blood gunner was in a super armor state when he randomly fired, circle swing was a skill that ignored super armor. The battle lance swung the blood gunner around, drawing a 270-degree arc. Lord Grimm fell to the ground. His 2 hands smashed the ground with his battle lance and the blood gunner was pressed under the lance. The random firing stopped. The 3 guilds players felt as if they had taken back their life. Meanwhile, Lord Grimm had already used a Sky Strike, Dragon Tooth, and a Falling Flower Palm. The blood gunner finally yelled out its final desperate cry. System announcement: 7 fields, Lord Grimm, Steamed Bun Invasion, Grazing Fire, Bright Mushroom, Sleeping Moon, Drifting Water, Immersed Jade have completed the blood gunner's first kill. The faces of the 3 Great Guilds players all turned deathly pale. Yishu quickly sent a message to the party: "Give me the blood rifle. You guys can have the rest." Chapter 69, Keep Chasing and I Won't Be So Nice Anymore. Yishu still didn't know whether he had gotten his blood rifle yet, when he heard a sudden explosion of gasps erupt from around him. Even Chen Guo, who was concentrating on playing whack-a-mole, was startled by these gasps. Many guests in the happy internet cafe all stood up and all headed towards a certain direction. There were even quite a few who threw down their games and ran over. What happened? What happened? Chen Guo jumped out from the reception desk and headed towards that direction while asking. Lord Grimm completed another first kill, a guest said excitedly. Why are you so excited for him? Chen Guo was speechless and asked, what did he first kill? Blood gunner. The other side said. Wild boss. Chen Guo was astonished. This thing was even harder to first kill than dungeons. She had once seen the process of hunting a wild boss. Each big guild fought until smoke filled the air. While they attacked the boss, they also plotted against each other. The people watching couldn't tell if it was a boss hunt or a guild war. In this sort of major event, ordinary guilds had no qualifications to participate. Going up was a death sentence. Players without guilds even more so. Although the blood gunner was a low-leveled boss, this was a representation of the guild's grade and had nothing to do with low-leveled or high-leveled. Chen Guo followed after a crowd of people rushing toward Yishu's computer. But when they arrived, everyone heard Yishu yell out, "Run, run, run! Hurry and run!" Hushing sounds. With the way he was yelling, it seemed like there was something wrong. It looked like there were quite some problems grabbing the first kill. In the end, a few 10th server players found a bit of information on the situation and gathered it together to gossip with everyone. I heard he stole it right from under the 3 Great Guilds' noses. Minnesota, so amazing, everyone was amazed and suddenly felt that his shout, "Run, run, run," was nothing. It didn't affect how they perceived him as the embodiment of bravery and wisdom. Everyone stared at Yishu's screen and saw his character running for his life. From time to time, Lord Grimm would turn his head and look back. As a result, everyone saw a large army of chasing soldiers. These were the 3 Great Guilds players. Stealing the boss really isn't easy, everyone bitterly said. Do we have anyone here from the 10th server's 3 great guilds? Someone suddenly asked around in interest. No one said anything. They'd probably be furious. Some made fun of them. Lady boss, go look and see if anyone's fainted in front of his computer. Call 911. Seeing Chen Guo, they joked around. Chen Guo didn't utter a word. Many others didn't utter a word either. These people all stared at the screen, not saying a word. They wanted to know whether Yi Shu could escape from the danger or not. It wasn't so easy to get away from the 3 great guilds. He was only level 20, yet he had already offended all 3 great guilds in one move. Some people didn't think of him as brave or wise. They thought of him as a complete idiot. What would happen to the idiot? That's what they wanted to know. Chen Guo? She was perhaps the only one who was simply there for the excitement. Seeing Yi Shu madly hitting his keyboard to run away, she felt a little worried for him. You guys run first. I'll hold them off. Suddenly, everyone saw Yi Shu swiftly type this out in the party channel. Wow, a true man, everyone praised him. Through Yi Shu's screen, they could all see Yi Shu's teammates. The 8 of them were all faster than him by a wide margin. They had no idea how this situation was brought about. Lord Grimm turned around and 4 players just happened to reach his back. His battle lance swept across. The 4 players clear didn't anticipate that Lord Grimm would suddenly stop to attack. None of them could avoid this. Lord Grimm immediately followed up with a short leap. He pulled out a sword in midair and slashed downwards. Falling light blades shock wave hit the 4 players. He moved so quickly, a few spectators cried out in alarm. Falling light blade could only be used in the air. Lord Grimm didn't jump high, so when this skill was used, it didn't look like the blade fell. Of the 4 players, 3 fell to the ground. The other player successfully used a quick recover and rolled forward. While he got up, he executed a sky strike. 1,000 creations. This guy deserved to be called an expert level character. Although quick recover was considered a basic skill, it wasn't easy to fully grasp. In that instant, it's not that the 3 other players didn't think of using quick recover, it was just that Lord Grimm's falling light blade was too quick, or they missed the timing, so they evidently lost. Only 1,000 creations was left. Not only did he successfully quick recover, he also counter-attacked. But before the sky strike was completed, Lord Grimm kicked him to the ground. Interrupt attack. Interrupt was a type of priority attack. Chain hits, aerial attacks, back attacks, these were all priority attacks too. Interrupt, as the name implies, interrupted the opponent's attack. When 1,000 creations tried to use Sky Strike, Lord Grimm used Punisher to interrupt it, forming an interrupt attack. Ha 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 ha, when the gunfire shot out, the spectators behind Yi Shu all laughed at 1,000 creations. But those with skill didn't laugh. To be able to quick recover from that sort of falling light blade. This 1,000 creations was very skilled. The Sky Strike after the forward roll was already the fastest counterattack possible. But he was still interrupted. This Lord Grimm's skill was even higher. If they were in his place, what would happen? Many players who thought of this, weren't able to laugh. The 4 players, who were defeated in the blink of an eye, were all battle mages. This could be seen from their neutral chasers' increased movement speed that allowed them to be in front of everyone else. If not, then as new characters in the new server, they didn't yet have equipment with these added properties, so their movement speed would have all been the same. Although the 4 players were on the ground, Lord Grimm didn't have the chance to kill them. Everyone could clearly see that at this moment, Lord Grimm was completely out of mana. If you keep chasing, then I won't be so nice anymore, Lord Grimm suddenly crouched. It looked as if he were saying this into 1,000 creations' ear. Everyone heard Yi Shu say this. The spectators sniggered. This was a bluff. He had no mana and was trying to scare them. Lord Grimm got up and continued running. The spectators were all anxious. They all wanted to know whether those 4 players were chasing him again, but Lord Grimm wouldn't turn his head. Everyone knew that Yi Shu wore headphones and could hear the footsteps behind him. Seeing him so calm, they supposed that the pursuers really had been scared stiff. How could they not have been scared stiff? Lord Grimm was so strong. These pursuers understood this better than any of the internet cafe spectators. 3 players had been easily knocked down. The highly skilled Thousand Creations, who tried to counterattack, was also knocked to the ground. Continuing to chase him was the same as running to their deaths. They could only wait for the others to catch up. "Did you catch up?" Blue River messaged them. Thousand Creations gloomily replied, "We caught up, but we couldn't beat him." "Then, retreat back," Blue River messaged. Thousand Creations watched as Lord Grimm ran farther and farther away. He didn't move. The other 3 of the same class also reacted in roughly the same way. Chapter 70, Copy Upgrade. In the end, the 3 great guilds stopped chasing him. After heaving a sigh of relief, Yi Shu took off his headphones and turned around. He had already felt the liveliness from the crowd of people behind him long ago. "Brother, you're awesome," everyone praised. Yi Shu laughed. Lucky, lucky. "What did it drop?" someone asked curiously. "I got a blood rifle," Yi Shu said. When Yi Shu saw that this item dropped, he immediately clicked on it. 7 Fields and the others saw this and took note of it. They obviously wouldn't compete for it with Brother Expert. But the question was, what about those 3 noobs? In Glory, equipment didn't have any bindings. Even if you couldn't use an equipment, you could still take it and sell it. As a result, in random parties, dungeons were always a mess. If you had demands for equipment, random parties weren't a good choice. If you had demands, then it'd be better to look for a guild or friends. Forming a party this way would give you priority for your class's equipment. Random parties were for gaining experience and making money. As a result, after hearing Yi Shu's demands, although 7 Fields in them didn't roll for it, they didn't renounce it. They had to see what those 3 strangers were going to do. If any of those 3 rolled for it, then they would also roll for it and help Brother Expert get the item. They had more people, so they had a higher chance of winning it. But in reality, they were too suspicious. Those 3 players swiftly renounced the blood rifle. After 7 Fields and the others renounced it too, the blood rifle fell into Lord Grimm's inventory. They didn't have time to carefully examine the other items. Brother Expert kept urging them to run, run, run. Everyone just randomly rolled. They didn't even know who got what. They were still extremely happy with getting equipment that dropped from a wild boss that only respawned 3 times every week. Just then, it had dropped 4 pieces of blue equipment, all level 25. Actually, their luck wasn't that good. If it was, they would have had a chance to obtain a purple equipment from the wild boss. In comparison, the first kill made them feel more wonderful. Seeing how those players of the 3 great guilds were going insane from rage, how could they be in that state because they stole away 4 blue equipment? 7 Fields and the others constantly admired their names on the leaderboards. They were so happy that they couldn't stop smiling. And Yi Shu, he also had many people standing around him and watching. But at this moment, he said a few words to free himself from the crowd. Everyone else wasn't very familiar with him. After casually chatting for a bit, they saw that there wasn't anything else really interesting, so they dispersed. Only Chen Guo still stood there. "Boss," Yi Shu greeted her. Looking at the time, he immediately logged out of the computer. "I'll be going to the reception desk." It was almost 11, it time for him to take over for the night shift. Seeing Yi Shu like this, Chen Guo felt too ashamed to say that she wasn't here to call him for the shift, but rather to see what all the noise was. 11 o'clock. The internet cafe emptied out all of a sudden. Quite a few people, who had just been spectating Yi Shu, quickly left. Although the enthusiasm for Glory's new server was still there, many guests had studying or work to do, so there would never be too many idlers that played games all night. Due to the employees handing over their shifts and leaving, Chen Guo felt that the internet cafe became even emptier. Only Yi Shu sat at the reception desk, sitting there all alone. Chen Guo went over to look and this guy had already entered the game again. He truly was exceptionally disdainful. Besides sleeping and eating, this guy only knew how to play games all day long. While Chen Guo derided him, she headed to a different part of the internet cafe. She took a look and Tangru was still in front of the computer, concentrated on playing the game. The screen suddenly flashed in front of her face, but Tangru didn't even blink. Chen Guo went up and saw Tangru was still focused on her task at hand. This girl was fairly unfortunate. She happened to play at the peak period of player activity. Completing quests was exhausting. Now that there were fewer players online, the situation improved a bit, making completing quests more fun. Chen Guo patted her. Tang Ru turned her head and faced Chen Guo, asking in a loud voice, "What are you doing?" Chen Guo pulled off her headphones. "It's 11 o'clock. "What? It's 11 already? I didn't know at all." Tang Ru was astonished. "What level?" Chen Guo asked. "Level 6, because she was playing during the peak time." Tang Ru really did level slowly. "You're still not going to sleep," Chen Guo said. "You go first." "I'll wait a bit." Tang Ru put on her headphones again and returned to the game world. "Then I'll be going first." "Sleep early," Chen Guo said, but Tang Ru didn't respond. Clearly, after putting on her headphones, she could no longer hear Chen Guo's words. Chen Guo left while feeling at a loss. She had originally been the internet cafe's craziest fan for glory. Once Yishu came and Tang Ru was brought along, seeing how these two were playing with insane energy, was she no longer as enthusiastic for it? While Chen Guo though about this, she first returned to the second floor to rest. There really weren't any people just idling about. Everyone sat at their station and focused on playing. After Yishu re-entered the game, Seven Fields and the others immediately asked questions. Seeing that Brother Expert suddenly went offline, they all thought something bad happened to him. "It's nothing. I'm quite good. But you guys also need to be careful," Yishu replied to everyone. "Don't worry about it," Seven Fields and the others disdained as if it were beneath their contempt. Their strength of character was closely related to Yishu. Before, they had regarded the three great guilds as gods and worshipped them. But after mixing in with Yishu a few times, they found out that their initial scope was too narrow. Compared to Brother Expert, how could they be considered gods? Now, they had also successfully followed Brother Expert in stealing the boss from the three great guilds. These guys even felt dignified enough to put these three great guilds under their feet. The delight in their hearts far surpassed their worries. As for Immersed Jade, Steamed Bun Invasion, those other guys, these noobs had no idea what their gains and losses were. Though when they split the equipment just a moment ago, they felt extremely happy. "I'm going back to town," Yishu informed everyone. Oh, see you later Brother Expert," everyone replied hurriedly. "Everyone be careful," Yishu once again reminded them. Lord Grimm ran back to Bulls. The small town was a safe zone. He couldn't receive any attacks there, so he felt at ease putting Lord Grimm aside and opened the equipment editor. He put in the blood rifle that he just obtained into the editor. In these 2 days, he had easily gathered quite a few materials. The Myriad Manifestation Umbrella had several parts that could be upgraded. After opening the blueprint, from the opened umbrella form, Yishu began carefully dismantling the umbrella canopy. The umbrella canopy had a total of 8 parts. The umbrella ribs linked them together to form a whole canopy. He randomly chose a canopy part and put it into the copy template. On another side, he opened up the material library and clicked on 5 strong spider silk. The copying started. After the progress bar finished, the 5 strong spider silk transformed into the umbrella canopy's appearance. Soon after, he copied it another 7 times. 8 strong spider silk were weaved into umbrella canopy parts. The new canopy was put together. The gun and hidden sword parts were next. The umbrella pole was dismantled. It was divided into 2 parts, the pole and the hidden sword in the pole. Both parts were put into the copy template. In copying the pole, he added in the blood rifle and the skeleton warrior's saber sheath. The hidden sword used the skeleton warrior's saber. He clicked copy. After it finished, he carefully reassembled the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella. Yishu worked extremely meticulously the entire time. But it didn't look too difficult. Apart from the dismantling and reassembling of the umbrella, all he did was click around and press copy. But if he didn't have the Myriad Manifestation Umbrella's original template, then how could there be a copy function?